I'm Michael Connor, and I am here tonight to only give you positive takes. Positive, 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 because the Texans are going to the Super Bowl.
I'm Sean Hickman, and I told y'all they was going to beat San Francisco. Can they do it again against Denver? I think we'll talk about that a little bit on today's show.
Stan Norfleet here. Congratulations, Texans. 3 out of the last 4, you emerged victorious. Now a real team shows up at NRG at noon on Sunday. Can you continue the momentum?
Yeehaw! It's time for the Texans Squad. Everything Houston Texans, every week. Bringing you the big hits, game-changing plays, and all the action straight from the Lone Star State. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Saddle up and squad up. It's the Texans Squad Show, starting now.
You are muted, MC.
Man, what an intro I just gave, and I just absolutely muted myself. It's the Texans Squad Show on a Tuesday. Michael Connor, Stan Norfleet, John Hickman with you every single Tuesday, and of course, from the games end as well. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. We got a lot to get into tonight on a Squad Show Tuesday. We'll get to the what's left of the 49ers win over the weekend. I do want to ask you guys how you're feeling about C.J. Stroud after that one. Demeco Ryans had something, he had a moment at the press conference. Let's just call it that. And then, of course, we'll get into the Denver game as well. But before we get into all of it, I guess, hello, you two. Make sure, of course, you're listening to John with the Daily Locked On Texans podcast. But 49ers win a couple of days later. John, we'll lead off with you tonight because we did not get your thoughts. You were at the game.
I missed
covering it as a media member. What were you feeling? Yes, credentialed media member. How are you feeling after that one with the Texans going out there? And honestly, I mean, we talked about it Sunday. Yeah, they did leave probably points out there because they did get quite a few field goals once again, but they really just kind of dominated that game throughout.
Yeah. Look, vindicated. I came on the show and said, hey, man, I got faith to beat San Francisco.
That's true. Folks, he was the only one of the three of us here that picked.
Folks were shocked. But, my true thoughts is of all of the games this year, and it hadn't been a lot of great moments, it hadn't been a lot of good moments. We're going to talk about some of the good moments, right? Because we don't want to be called out. But was this not the best game plan from Nick Caley? That was my takeaway from it. And I went back to look at some of the tape and also how the eye test matched up with the advanced stats. And I thought they just did a great job of intentionally getting the ball out quicker, neutralizing an already beat up defensive front from San Francisco, not letting them get a groove, controlling the tempo of the game. I thought Houston did a very good job on third down. 9 of 16, I think, on the day. But my takeaway was best game from Ariante Urshry this season. Not throwing away Blake Fisher. Using Blake Fisher to get him involved, to keep him involved into the game plan in terms of protecting the quarterback and adding an extra body up there to run block. But then, just C.J. Stroud and Nick Caley been on the same terms of just getting that ball out quickly and staying in front of the sticks. And I think that is their recipe, especially considering, how long will Nico be out. I think everybody is out on Christian Kirk right now. So just moving forward, some of these younger guys that may not have what the offense is asking of them in terms of how they want to attack downfield, but underneath it, you look at Braxton Berrios getting 3 first downs. It just seems like everything worked perfectly for the Houston Texans. They played on schedule, they played on time, and they were able to beat up on a bad team, an injured team. I'm not going to say a bad team. They beat up on an injured team, but a very well-coached team led by Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh.
Stan, a couple days later, how you feeling?
Second take Tuesday. I think Kyle Shanahan.
I like that. That's fire.
Yeah, I carried that over from my local radio days. Kyle Shanahan, I think, summed it up. For once, the Houston Texans were the aggressor. Kyle Shanahan, said that the Texans physically kicked their you-know-what. And physically, that's what it looked like. Just a week ago, or just shy of a week, on Monday night, we talked about how the Texans in the white unis and the Seattle Seahawks in the blue unis, you just see the line of scrimmage change as that wave of blue from Seattle. It was more like that this time at NRG when you saw the line of scrimmage. Guys were physical at the point of attack. Henry toe, absolutely destroying Christian McCaffrey. Granted, C-Mac didn't see him, but you play the game, got to always keep your head on a swivel. Togia showing up again on the tape. So I was really impressed with the level of physicality, regardless of who the 49ers had out there or not. The 49ers are similar to the Ravens, and I'm more convinced coming off this game that I'm going to classify it in that same space. The Ravens nor the 49ers had their starting quarterbacks, and then you had a whole bunch of folks on the defensive side of the football that were out in Baltimore and San Francisco as well. So it's a solid win. Winning in the National Football League is hard, but now that we're done with the jubilation part, it's time for us to really be honest with ourselves. When will the Texans do that with a team that has a healthy defense and their starting quarterback?
Well,
Perhaps
I mean, that's
this week.
Yeah, they could do it this week. Now that defense is missing a little something in it. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
A lot of something.
I wanted to go back to the John. We didn't really get your thoughts on it. We talked about it a lot on Sunday. The rookie receivers show something, or really the Iowa State receivers show some things. Jalen Noel to me was the guy that really stood out amongst all of them. What did you feel from the Iowa State trio and really Noel on Sunday?
Well, first, I wanted to kind of reflect on something that Stan and I have been talking about, joking about, I think for the last 2 seasons now, Stan. Walking up to the NRG Stadium, I'm getting my steps in. And I'm seeing red, but it ain't battle red. It's that old crimson San Francisco red. Texas, but come on, man.
Was it even 50-50?
No, listen. On third down, when screen for the defense to make a stop.
Yeah.
But the Texans offense was on the field. And the third downs for the NRG Stadium was loud. But it was 49er fans. I just thought
this sounds crazy. I don't even get mad at that anymore because I went to the Texans-Cowboys game last year and it was majority Texans fans. I know the Cowboys were in a bad spot last year too. I just think NFL fans now just want to travel.
Yeah, but people at home got to show up. But to your point about the Cyclone trio receivers, Hutchinson, Higgins, Noel, I think a positive takeaway was, they just got those guys involved. Higgins had 8 targets. That's a positive. Noel had, I think, 5. They have caught 4 of them. But then you see his deep threat ability on a deep crossing route, and he has the great hands to CJ dropped it in the bucket. Right?
Beautiful ball by CJ. Absolutely. That was 2023 CJ. That ball to Noel and the touchdown pass in the third quarter to Hutch coming out of the half. That was vintage CJ. And you know what it looks like? Okay, just play a little bit point guard out there, making sure everybody will have the opportunity to eat. You mentioned the Xavier Hutchinson touchdown. I thought that was a beautiful pass right in front of the linebacker. It's the only way Xavier can get it, and a good catch and run. So when I look at the trio, those guys each served a role. Higgins scored, motioned him to the slot, and that was against cover 2 man, and he got open, right? I think he's a great red zone target. Moving forward, it's all about stacking what those guys can do well. And again, I don't think that they would have had that day if it wasn't for the ball placement of CJ Stroud. I think that when we look at how the offense operated, CJ was in command. Was it the Baltimore Ravens defense? No. Was it the Tennessee Titans team altogether? No. I still have a lot of respect for this 5-2, now 5-3 San Francisco 49er team. But CJ looked like he was just well prepared going into that game. And another thing, he was stepping into his throws. I thought that was important on how he was able to kind of deliver
the ball. So the trio, the wide receivers, I would say, man, each and every one of those guys played a big role into how the Houston Texans were able to pull that game off on Sunday.
I want to highlight one area, if I could, MC, before we
Yeah.
pivot. Go ahead with what your thought, though. I'll wait on you.
No. You go ahead. You go ahead. I'll ask my last one before we go to break.
We still got to talk about this third down. Excuse me, this red zone. I'm looking at the third and down, the yardage. So 5 trips to the red zone. The Hutch touchdown was the third trip. So the other 4 to the red zone, 3rd and 1 from the San Francisco 14. Chubb 1 yard loss. Second trip, 3rd and 9. So 3rd and long from the 49ers 20. Hutch short of the sticks. The 4th trip, 3rd and 14. Penalty on Scruggs. Dare 8-yard gain at the 49ers 18-yard line. Dry stalls. And the final one, 5th red zone trip, 2 negative runs, back-to-back runs by Woody Marks, losses of 5 yards and 2 yards. So when we talked about the 10 TFLs that were allowed versus the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football, 6 days later, they limit the TFLs to 3, but now look at when those TFLs occurred. There's penetration when they got down in the red area, and it completely threw off the down the distance and being on schedule. They've got to get that rectified. It's getting leaky in there somewhere when they're in the high red. Because I was like, when I first went to look at the 1 of 5 in the red area, I'm like, okay, let me see what happened. And maybe they were down on the 2 on the 1 yard line. No, this is happening in the high red, where teams are going to put together some run blitzes to try and knock you out of field goal range and do exactly what San Fran did. So that's just an area that I went back and looked at. The Houston Texans right now they are the 31st ranked red zone offense, just ahead of the Las Vegas Raiders. That's not good. You aren't going to beat good teams with that. Conversely, here come the Denver Broncos, red zone defense. I believe they're tied for first in the NFL.
It's not great. John, what did you think of it on Sunday?
Same thing, same thoughts. I thought that because on the first drive, they went forward with the QB sneak on 4th down. Then they got down to, I think it was 3rd and 1. And the play itself, I'm okay with. But I thought at that point, it felt like, and CJ had command of the offense throughout the game, but it felt like your quarterback was in command. Your quarterback should have had that ball in his hands to make a decision on 3rd and 1. Or maybe you look at going wide and running the inside zone. But you're absolutely right. You can get away with that when you play teams that may be beat up or missing important guys. But, look at the matchup coming up this Sunday against Denver. Was it 1 of 3 in the red zone? 1 of 4?
1 of 4. 1 of 5. So, yeah.
1 of 5 and 3 field goals. That's an area where, Houston, you can't leave points out on the field when you got an offense and a defense in Denver that is already going to make it hard for you to get down there. And when you do get down there, every inch of the red zone matters. So they got to figure that part out. And I think the best plan of action moving forward, in my opinion, is when you do get to that red zone, the ball needs to be in CJ Stroud's hands as much as possible.
I want to add, if I could, on the way out to break, Mike. First of all, Joe Mixon was in the building. He was cited in the club level and again down by the locker room. So Joe Mixon has been seen without a walking boot inside the NRG for whatever that means. The other thought that I have is people are going to say, guys, you're overreacting. Some of the battle red hearts out there are going to say we're overreacting. No, I'm trying to get the Texans in the Super Bowl. And what you can't do is put on film that killer instinct. The Texans, now they put Baltimore away, and we know the conditions that Baltimore was in. Same with the Titans, the 70 points over those 2 games. But they should have beaten the San Francisco 49ers in a very similar fashion. So when other teams are watching that tape, like the Denver Broncos, and after that the Jacksonville Jaguars, teams will continue to fight because this 25 rendition of the Houston Texans have not learned to put their foot on the throat of opponents. And I know what they did those other two games, but you're only as good as your most recent tape, your most recent performance. They held San Francisco was still in that ball game late into the fourth quarter. It was still a 9-point game. There's still a chance that you get 2 possessions. One interception by San Fran, if they get a field goal right there, that cuts it to a 1-possession game, and then you get into the break. So that's all I'm saying is just from a philosophical standpoint, I'd like to see them go ahead and put teams away and cash in on more touchdowns than field goals, but it was enough to win on Sunday.
Well, maybe you can do that with the.
I want to make a point, but I know we got to go to a break.
Yeah, maybe we can do that with the quarterback that's got his hand as well. We'll talk about him here in a moment on the Locked On Texans Squad show.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
CJ Stroud had maybe his best game of the season on Sunday. We're going to talk about him here in a second. Locked On Texans Squad show. Michael Connor, Stan Norfleet, John Hickman. John, real quick, I just want to give you your opportunity before we get back into the CJ Stroud stuff to finish your thought there before we head to break.
Yeah, man, every time we talk about the Houston Texans, I know that we talk about the offense, and rightfully so, because the offense has been the reason why this team doesn't have a winning record. You can make a case if the offense showed up in the games that they didn't show up, this team may be undefeated on the season. But CMC is still an X factor in this league.
No question.
Outside of a couple of dump-off passes towards the end of the game.
Big fat nothing.
Nothing from CMC. So I say that to say this. And I had an opportunity to talk with EJ Speed in the locker room, man. That's out on the Tuesday podcast. We cannot just overlook how great of a job this defense does game in and game out. And I'm not saying we do, but I'm saying going into the first half, San Francisco, I think, had under 90 total yards. They had 1 third-down conversion. They completely were obliterated in the time of possession game. The pressure was in front of Mac Jones from every angle, and we know from Mac Jones watching him, and I know I do personally, that pressure gets to him, he'll just fall or he'll get rid of the ball. EJ Speed, your boy, Stan, did a very good job in coverage when he was out there.
I saw him carrying somebody down the seam. He was running with one of them receivers or backs.
Yeah, man. So the offense is going to be the talking point probably for the entire 2025 season. But San Francisco was a 5-2 team. Granted, they were beat up and not healthy and at their best. But CMC came into that game a top 10 receiver in terms of yards in the NFL. And
he was the NFC's offensive player of the week before.
The week prior against Atlanta, how he went crazy.
201 yards from scrimmage.
And walked out of that game with under 70 total yards. I say all that to say this. That defense ain't playing with nobody. And I don't think that defense is playing their best football because I think the oblique injury is still bothering Derek Stingley.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to point out that defense is crazy.
You can't take for granted. The defense is now number 1 in the league in points allowed, number 1 in the league in yardage.
Talk
San
to him.
Francisco only ran 14 plays in the first half.
Yeah.
When the
How
offense
many
is on
3
the
and
field,
outs?
oh, I have to go count them up, but I'm saying a whole bunch of them. Listen, now again, I'm gonna be fair and balanced. Y'all know that. That's Mac Jones. If that's Lamar, if that's Josh Allen, if that's a healthy Burrow, we'll continue to have those conversations until the Texans are consistently beating upper tier quarterbacks with regularity. But that was the quarterback they faced. They made him one-dimensional. The pressure got there, and most importantly, that defense was able to remain fresh.
Yes. That's probably the first game that they've
No,
been
that is
fresh
the
all
first game.
year. And I
No
also
question.
want to point out, now this has been somewhat of a down year for the future, and I think he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But Trent Williams was not a factor in this game.
Was not.
Will
Was
Anderson had his way in that game. So, and that's probably what you get when your offense can, for the first drive, 9 minutes, second drive, 5 minutes, third drive, 10 minutes. That's probably the type of defensive performance you can expect when those guys can probably sit around and say, man, we chilling today, huh? All right, when we get on the field, let's get busy. Let's get dirty.
Gatorade, I'm good. I'm going to hold off right now. You know what I mean? I'm all right.
Yeah.
Them boys can't believe it. I know they went out Sunday night. Those boys went out. The defensive players absolutely went over there.
They probably got a whole other group chat. Yeah,
man, they went on Alameda. Them boys was on Westheimer. Them boys got after it on Sunday. I know they did.
It's worth it. Hey, yeah, they're going out there playing their backsides off every single week. You guys are absolutely right. I mean, look, that's why fans get so frustrated, because if you don't go out there and utilize what you have, which is an unbelievable defense. There goes my camera, by the way. Sorry. It's going to be a frustrating season. So, with that being said, the quarterback this past weekend, C.J. Stroud, 30 of 39, 318, 2 touchdowns. Of course, had the pick at the end of the half. Not really too concerned about that, obviously. But, I mean, really, I felt like, and this is somebody that even said recently that he's, gotten me to have a little bit less confidence in him with his recent play. That felt like 2023 C.J. Stroud from the standpoint of he was just slinging it wherever he wanted to all day.
Yeah.
After going back and looking at it again, are you guys feeling any more confidence in where the team can go based off of what he did in the football game?
I think he was afforded an opportunity by that offensive line to be great.
Shout out to the O-line. Urshree's best game of the year. So
that O-line was, CJ was not sacked. I think he was only hit maybe two, three times from off the top of my head. So CJ got comfortable. CJ was in complete command. It looked like his energy and his vibe, and statistically, it did take us back. I believe that was his best performance since week 10 of 2023.
First time not sacked since his rookie year.
318 yards, passer rating of 106.6, 30 of 39. I mean, he's fantastic. There's not much more you can ask. Certainly not flawless. The interception is what it is. Thankfully, it did not result in points, because had the DB gone down, maybe they could have gotten a long field goal attempt. But nonetheless, I really liked, and we might have seen a sign that CJ is getting his swag back, because in the locker room, when Demeco Ryans gave one game ball and he afforded that to CJ Stroud, CJ immediately says, I'm going to get 5 more, and I'm going to give those to the 5 guys up front. So I thought that was really a testament to where his mental and his physical. He was in simpatico and a virtuoso performance by the young QB.
I also want to add to that, on the interception, he was targeting Jalen Noel, who, if you go back and look, I think CJ thought that he would not be as flat on that route to where he threw it. That was a mistake, but that was the first time. Because going into halftime, I was looking on the sideline a little bit. I noticed CJ pulling him to the side. And I'm not going to say he was just berating him, but he was a little animated with how he was talking to him and doing this in expectancy of maybe a conversation like to Noel. Maybe he was expecting for him to go a little bit higher on their route. And so I wanted to point out, like, offense been beat up and talked about bad this year. And, last week was last week in terms of what happened. And then we get Coach Demeco Ryans at the press conference Monday. But a lot has been said about C.J. Stroud in terms of his leadership. And that was the first time that I think I can remember in a while where I saw a fiery CJ Stroud kind of coaching a player up into what he expects from their player.
To me, CJ is still not as demonstrative as I would prefer him to be at times.
And so that's the first time.
Yeah.
The interception takes at least 3 points off the board.
So you guys are feeling better about him, though, overall, obviously. Like we all should be, yes.
Well, I feel better under the context of who they were playing. Like, let's be clear, Fred Warner was a big reason why the San Francisco 49ers were 5-2. You know, Huff, the DN they got in free agency from the Jets, he had an excellent game the week before he goes down. Like, they don't have, you know, Greenlaw and Kinlaw and those boys. Bosa is injured. Like, that's not the traditional San Francisco 49er unit. Now, had they been playing well? Absolutely. They have been playing well. But not having Fred Warner as your linchpin in the middle of that defense changes a lot. So I'm going to say I accept the performance under the it's no different. If Kyle Hamilton's playing for the Ravens along with Roquan Smith, that Ravens game, I'm not saying the result wouldn't be the same, but it looks a little bit different than it did.
But do we look at Houston not having their top two receivers and compare to who 49ers are lacking right now?
Man, I think it's part of the story, right? There's no way it
should be.
Sure.
It should be. I think it should be. And
so
also,
in that sense, what you're saying is
how good the offensive line played.
So are you saying Nico and Kirk out is equivalent to Bosa and Fred Warner being out? You're saying this was a fair fight?
I'm saying it is simply because, okay, we talked about who's the wide receiver 2 for this team, who's the wide receiver 3, like the conversations around the rookie receivers for Houston. And I think MC pointed this out maybe about 2-3 weeks ago. We can't say what they are right now because we haven't seen much of them on the field, right? And so we haven't seen much of them on the field. We also saw the offensive performance last week. The thought around the city, and I think we talked about a little bit here on the show last week, is we don't know if CJ Stroud going to be able to find those guys because of just miscommunication and not being on the same page, because of the lack of reps that they had. So no Nico and no Kirk, who Kirk was tearing it up in training camp. A lot of times he looked like this security blanket. To see CJ go out there and essentially play point guard with receivers that hadn't been on the field a lot, I thought that was impressive. And so he's down his top 2 guys. They're down some of their top guys on defense, and he rose to the level of the occasion. So I thought that's commendable.
Let me add 2 other things just pop into my head. First of all, a guy that we don't talk a lot about, the fullback, British Brooks, on a wham block, absolutely destroyed.
Beautiful.
A defensive lineman on that wham block. It's out there on social for those. Just put in the search engine British Brooks, and you'll see what we're talking about there. We also need to congratulate Jared Wayne. With both of those receivers, Nico Collins and Christian Kirk being out, Jared Wayne was elevated, and he played in 44% of the snaps, getting his first catch of his career, a guy that has been around NRG for a little while now. What I do find interesting, Jared Wayne played more percentage of the snaps in the base offense than Jalen Noel and Braxton Berrios, who we know left due to injury. So you got a problem with Jared Wayne getting more snaps than Noel?
Well, Noel was the primary slot receiver. Jared Wayne, you're not going to move him on the inside. He was a primary outside receiver.
Then he shouldn't be having more snaps.
Well, you look at the kind of the game plan. Blake Fisher was out there at tight end.
Blake Fisher was out there as the 6th offensive line.
And then Dalton Schultz lined up. And so you look at Houston going Higgins, Hutchinson, or Higgins, Wayne in a lot of situations on the field. And shout out to Jared Wayne. You mentioned the receptions, but I also want to shout out his downfield blocking, especially in the second half. So not a problem, because when he was out there, when Jalen Noel was out there, plays were made. The ball went
No
to him,
question. No
and he was able to come down with it, which I think is important. And you mentioned Braxton Berrios. Houston had 9 first down conversions. 3 came from Berrios of his 4 targets. And I'm also going to spark this conversation. Even when Christian Kirk does get healthy, what does the pecking order look like for Houston moving
That's
forward?
exactly how we ended the show on Sunday.
Oh, because
the question was, if Kirk is, I really could use another week. I don't want him to force it just to go out there against Denver. I'd like to see some of these younger guys, and let's see what they do. I think it was eight different receiving backs, tight ends, or receivers. 8 different guys on skills on offense got at least 1 reception. That's a good formula. Spread it around, keep the defense honest. You keep everybody on offense fully engaged, paying attention to CJ. They got Blake Fisher involved, British Brooks involved. So you could see this could be, what is it, a rising tide lifts all ships. They could be doing more with more. Yeah. Now, if Kirk is healthy and he can go, then of course I'd like him out there. But we asked that very same thing on Sunday.
So we're at the 31-minute mark. I know we got to go to the break. Can we just bring that back very quickly before?
Yeah, we'll bring that back real quick before we get to our Demeco Ryans discussion, which I know will
spark some. I need to talk about this.
Well, let's talk about that here in a moment. Locked On Texans Squad Show. Before we get there, though, let's talk about, well, let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. Or it happens to everyone sometimes. Well, but when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little support. And that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly to your door. Process fast and simple and private. And again, all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNFL so they know that we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. There's the squad show. Michael Connor, Stan Norfleet, and John Hickman. All right, real quick before we get into our Demeco thing, finish your thoughts that you had there real quick on the receiver stuff, and then we'll get into Demeco.
2 things, and I'm going to ask you guys really quick, yes or no. Do we feel like Christian Kirk can serve Houston well playing outside receiver?
No.
Okay, moving forward, do we feel like, given the health, given the speed, given the downfield ability, do we feel like he should earn more snaps over a rookie, Jalen Noel, who they invested into a top 100 pick?
No, Kirk's the better player.
So you think
it should, and it's not close.
You think once he comes back, it should be Kirk moving forward? Kirk
is the starter. Noel has done nothing to dethrone Kirk. Kirk
this season, he hasn't done anything
to dethrone Christian Kirk.
And that
Christian
is
Kirk
where
is a
I
listen
disagree.
to me.
That's
Christian
where my
Kirk is a
pushback
significantly better wide receiver on Sundays than Jalen Noel.
In 2025.
In 2025, significantly better.
And that's where I disagree. And my point that I wanted to make is, once the entire room is healthy, we know Nico's going to come back and be wide receiver 1.
No question.
After that, they love Xavier Hutchinson, and I'm going to be honest, he's made me eat some words.
Yeah.
Higgins has done well, and Higgins is a great red zone target. But when it comes down to who should be the slot receiver moving forward,
that's crazy talk.
It should absolutely be
crazy talk.
Jalen Noel.
MC,
you look at Jalen Noel's ability to stay
about
healthy.
Putting a healthy Christian Kirk on the bench.
I think Pastor John is preaching.
Oh, stop it. You were talking about Higgins and
for those of you
camp in preseason,
and
now you switch from Higgins to Noel. Hey, that's some wow. Hey, by the way,
and I'm gonna tell you what Christian Kirk gives Houston I mean, what Jalen Noel gives Houston that I don't think Christian Kirk can give Houston, at least on a consistent basis. And that's even with the injuries. Noel is a player that he can get downfield and make plays. Not on a busted coverage either. He can make those plays downfield. The last 2 weeks, he's had catches over 30 yards.
He has.
And that's with the up and down snap share as well. So if this offense, and they're going to need explosiveness, if that's what they're going to do,
that's not this offense,
that's by 1,000 cuts. And who do you trust to catch the ball and get upfield or make a play on third and short?
I trust Christian Kirk way more than I trust Jalen Noel.
Wow.
I trust Christian Kirk to pull his hamstring. All right, we'll probably have this conversation again after this weekend because I do want to give the Demeco stuff enough time because we only get an hour with these shows, and I know that the Demeco thing's going to have some legs to it. So Demeco Ryans, guys, has his press conference, and we don't play the whole clip here. If you haven't seen the whole clip, just go search for it on X. Demeco Ryans will literally be one of the first videos that pulls up. It's about 2 minutes of him kind of going into it about everything is out there in terms of stories is negative. And this is the end of what he had to say.
You guys good?
He tried to end it with you guys good. He went on a rant basically about everything's negative. I don't want to say rant, but coverage is negative. Negative stories are all that sells. And to the media's credit, they did not let him just sit there and say that. They got back at him. So I'm going to open the floor to you guys here as people that have been more involved in the media aspect of the Texans in recent years than I have. How did you feel about this situation, and what is going on with the Texans head coach being so concerned about the media?
Stan,
I'm going to defer to John. John was there.
Before you go, I wasn't there Monday.
I want you to go.
When I'm giving you the alley off the backboard, I need for you to please windmill it.
All right.
My honest opinion, I'm gonna look at it from Demeco Ryans' side. Last week, some of the conversations, some of the stuff said online, tweets and deletes, all of those things. I think he looked at it as we are getting away from football and it's getting to be personal. And I see you guys every day. Now, granted, Demeco Ryans even said that's the nature of the business. And even in his comments, it was a very general statement. And we know that in those locker rooms, Stan, you played at a high level. I'm just a high school football athlete. But we know that using outside noise and kind of phrasing it as it don't matter what we do here, it only impacts us. We know how that plays off with the players. Even if you go back and look at this Houston Texans social media, CJ Stroud said something similar in the post game in the locker room. So obviously they hear is CJ Stroud really a franchise quarterback? Is he soft? What happened?
Is Demeco the right guy?
Is Demeco the right guy? They hear all of that. And as grown men, you hear it over and over and over again. And you got to hear from guys that you see. Yeah, it gets to a point where it's annoying. So I think he was doing a great job I'm not going to say a great job, but I think that he was doing his version of what y'all say don't matter. My locker room right now, we are ready to play ball, and we're going to continue to stay ready. Now, when Demeco Ryans mentioned the positive and negative, and again, that was a very general statement, for 2.5 years, especially considering when things have been written about Demeco Ryans, there's been a lot of positive.
Overwhelming positive.
The majority of his tenure, there's been nothing but positive because he came in and fixed the negative that they had left behind. Yeah,
maybe it was too positive. But Coach, last week you also mentioned the things that we may see that's wrong. You told us to put it on you. And what do we see that's wrong this year? An inexperienced play caller in CJ Stroud third year. An offensive line that is not fixed, a receiving core that disparaging numbers on the field, and guys that you sign, you got $20 million tied up in the 3 guys that are no longer on the roster. Your words last week were to put it on you. So when we put it on you, those things are negative. I think he was looking at it from these things that are starting to get personal. Y'all are saying things about me personally that are not true, and my quarterback that I got to ride with that may not be true. Y'all paint us in a different light, but that comes with the nature of the business. but there has been an overwhelming amount of positive stories and perspectives said about the Houston Texans since 2023. It also felt like what happened on Monday was inevitable. And that second you good, I feel like Demeco Ryans is ready to get up out there and have a different conversation outside of football. He likes to keep it to football, and maybe he felt like last week it wasn't about football, especially considering a couple things that the team had to get involved in on. Stan, the floor is yours.
I'm growing more and more disappointed in Demeco Ryans and his handling of his messaging at the podium, and specifically when he's addressing that was DJ the enemy, and it started with Landry Locker. Those are two veteran, credentialed members of the media, as is John, as am I, as is MC was when he was covering the team. We all know the people on the beat. Demeco wrong. And I'm going to use a term, and I like Demeco, but if you're going to be boys with me, I'm not saying we're boys, I'm just saying anybody in my space, we got to keep it real with one another, even when we're wrong. Demeco was wrong here. Yes, I understand his obligation to stand up for his coaching staff and his players. But Demeco also must understand the members of that media have a job to do. And that job is to be a voice of people that are watching this program and patronizing your product. So if you understand the nature of the beast, and if you're telling your team to ignore the noise, then why do you, Demeco, multiple times, he is becoming more and more, and the word is sensitive. He's overly sensitive, and he's not alone over there in that building from what I understand. Y'all got to stop acting like for the last week or for the 2025 season, the folks over there at NRG got to stop acting like you aren't getting heat like you in Boston or New York or Chicago or Cleveland or Detroit. You getting some light work.
100%.
And if you cut the tape on, everything I told you about this team for the 25 season from the word go has been fair. It may have been hard to hear, but it's been fair. Now, other people have now seen through X amount of games, here is what you are. The offensive line is in shambles. You got a $20 million off the injured number 2 wide receiver. Your quarterback was looking skittish. Your offensive play caller, another first-timer, not looking great. Demeco, there was coaching blunders. We still got excessive penalties, Demeco. That's 3 years now. That's 3 consecutive years, definitely 2, of having issues in the red area. That's 3 consecutive years with these damn penalties. So coach is wrong for going up there trying, and I understand his point. His point was some of you are writing negative stuff. Well, you're talking to 2 guys that are veteran and experienced enough, and I appreciate the enemy for saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. What you mean all you've heard, all we write is negative because that's what sells, clicks and ads and all that. That's not fair, coach. And I'll end with this. The bottom line is, Demeco, we only respond to, including your job, your general manager, the future franchise status and the contract of your quarterback. We only talk about when you don't address the Joe Mixon injury and y'all act like everything is okay. We only discuss what your performance and your personnel staff give us to discuss. And if you can't handle that, my boy, then go to the podium with your standard answer and get the hell off of there. But you're not going to use the cachet that you created in 2023 to try and be dismissive in the first half of 2024. You're not going to use that cachet a season and a half ago to try and diminish the work that folks like DJ Bieniemy, Landry Locker, Kimmy Davis, and several others over there, Jonathan M. Alexander, I think about Aaron Wilson. It's a lot of folks over there that do good work. I used to be in that room with John after the game for the first 2 seasons. Don't do that, man. Don't patronize me because we're not a former Pro Bowler and Defensive Rookie of the Year. Don't do that, Coach. You was wrong, and your ass is getting sensitive over there. I'm sorry.
I want to say I think Monday's interaction, again, I think it was an extension of specifically some of the things that were coming out last week. Specifically
Which
some of the things that...
Which was what? We were asking, can Demeco get him over the hump for some that wrote that? I didn't like that. So what are we talking about specifically?
The articles, I think, are different. when we get to
In
the
what
social
way?
media and the internet and things that may be said that could be taken the wrong way.
Nick
I
Caley
never want to.
deserves to be fired. If Demeco were to do it, Nick Caley, through X amount of games, deserves to be fired.
And that was one thing I wanted to
So
bring
what's
up.
wrong with saying he deserves to be fired?
When we look at Nick Caley, now I'm not Nick Caley, but Nick Caserio personally, I think he should be out the door.
Nick Caserio has earned a conversation about what the future of the Texans would look like if he were no longer the GM.
100% agree. And I think at the end of this season, they need to move on from him. But I think because Demeco does I don't want to say a good job, but he does his version of a good job of shielding the players and the coaching staff and the front office.
Sure.
And even last week, he said in one of those, I think it was the Thursday, the last time we heard from him last week, put it all on me. If I'm going to side with Demeco on anything last week, it was some of the things that were said and done on social media. But in terms of stories that have been coming out, it's been standard. I read DJ stuff all the time. Well, let me not say all the time, but I read DJ stuff on ESPN. It's been standard. I think the criticism has been fair. In this game, in this media game, is full of criticism. And I also think that we judge this season specifically on what y'all told us in the offseason. And I'm going all the way back to the fan council, and this is more so on Nick Caserio, but the brother is in front of the bullets right now. Demeco and I, we're not worried about it, so you guys shouldn't be either. And that was in reference to the offensive line.
They laughed at
it. And Nick Caserio did this with an arrogant smirk.
He did.
So,
and how about now?
Again, how they handle Joe Mixon and how they handle the running back room altogether. You go with another first-time play caller. And when we hear things like this is a joint decision, well, we don't got Nick Caserio in front of us right now.
Hey, two things, MC.
They had you.
But Demeco, I was surprised more people weren't louder in the media about this team retaining Jimmy Ward, given what he was going through. Now, he was later exonerated. I understand that. But those conversations in other markets would have been amplified. That's number one, given the climate of where we are in society. Number two, I will side with Demeco here. Immediately after winning a ball game like that on Sunday, that's not the time for a credentialed member of the media to be asking about the noise from a negative standpoint.
It wasn't on Sunday, though.
Immediately following the game. Yeah, immediately following the game, you shouldn't have to deal with that part. So I will side with him there. Look, guys, and this is all he's got to say. Look, guys, that was a big ball game for us. It's a good win. I understand there are naysayers. There always will be naysayers. But the more and that's what the end. And when those credential members of the media pushed back, he felt some type of way about it. I'm done, MC. I'm looking at the clock.
All right. We can get our final thoughts out. We'll get a little bit of a preview into the Broncos in the next few minutes here on the Locked On Texans Squad Show. Before we get there, though, NBA season is here. Yeah, that's right. Rockets got a nice little win last night. That was nice. NBA's back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of a game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps everything exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, fellas, Locked On Texan Squad Show for a few more minutes here. I'll give you guys the opportunity here if you got any final thoughts on the Demeco thing, if you want to get it off your chest real quick. Floor is yours for a couple seconds.
This is just And it should be just a moment. And you know, Stan, you pointed out one thing. This isn't LA, New York, Boston, Dallas, right up at 45.
I would tell him to go to Philadelphia and listen to
This
Philadelphia
isn't
sports
Philly.
radio after a game, and he would.
He played in Philly. He know what this is.
Yeah,
This isn't one of those markets. I'm curious to see how much this will spill over, and I am curious to see because I do think feelings are involved for some people. But I'm curious to see if this continues and it maybe get a little bit more personal. See, what things people write for their platforms and what they write on their own platform, I think are two different takes. And I think that we know that the Houston Texans, if you're a credential media member, they monitor a lot of these things, right? Rightfully so. That's their job. There's a fine line between criticism and disrespect. But this should be just a moment. I don't think that it will. And I think Monday's reaction was inevitable based on some of the events that took place last week. They got to move on, and the best way to move on is to win games.
There's an article up by Jonathan M. Alexander in the Chronicle right now, and it went up today. Houston Texans owner Cal McNair optimistic after team slow start. We're in a really good spot. If you read the article, there are quotes in there from Cal and Hannah. I think we're in a really good spot as a team. Cal says sometime when you start 0-3, the team can split apart. Ours didn't. The team has been really strong. Coach Demeco Ryans has been really strong, and we're happy with what's in front of us. Now, I've been in the vocal minority asking Cal and Hannah to prepare themselves to make a uncomfortable decision at the end of the season if things go the way that I think they're going to go. That decision may result in some men losing their jobs. That's the nature of the National Football League.
Can I respond to that really quickly? Demeco Ryans has the number one defense, at least in a lot of categories right now. If not number one, they're top 5.
No, they're number one in both categories.
You know what I'm saying? So when you look at that, okay, Demeco Ryans came in after the Deshaun mess, Davis Mills, 2 years of Davis Mills, that David Culley year, which was just a blunder, and then Lovie Smith and him playing the Isley brothers and the Gap Band with 23-year-old players. Okay, that was a year. Demeco Ryans comes in and he rejuvenizes the franchise. And in a lot of ways, the fan base, they were sold out on the Houston Texans. Now some of them are starting to buy back in. When we stack up where the issues have come from for the Houston Texans, it's hard to say at the end of the year to get rid of the head coach unless there is a power imbalance that we don't know about. When the general manager has yet, and I think he's gotten it right with Ariante Ursary, but he has yet to put together an offensive line that we could consider top 12, top 10 in the NFL.
I disagree with that.
Quarterback.
The 23 offensive line was just fine.
You know what? Yes, it was.
He trades for Shaq Mason. He already had Howard and Tunzel.
And George Fant, I think, was a godsend.
And he went and found George Fant.
Played right tackle very well. But that's 2 years ago. In the 2 seasons since then, bottom half. You bring in Ed Ingram, Laker Thompson. What I'm getting at is the mistakes of Nick Caserio and some of the arrogance of Nick Caserio as a general manager has led to Houston in a lot of ways repeating what hurt them in 2024. And that has forced C.J. Stroud to compensate and Demeco Ryans to compensate in areas to get this team to be somewhat competitive. I'm against firing Demeco Ryans at the end of the year. I don't think that should be a conversation. I think the hardest conversation for the McNairs, because they chased him for years, is do we really stick it out with Nick Caserio? That's my final piece.
See,
I think the final conversation they need to have is,
should
we sell the team? That's bad.
I knew that was coming, MC.
Stop that with you. Look, real talk though. If this offense has regressed the way that when they play real teams, it looks like, who's hiring the offensive coordinator?
Nobody.
Demeco's not in charge of just the defense. He's in charge of the offense, the defense, and the special teams. If by any chance of prayer that this Texans team makes the postseason as a wild card and goes on the road and wins a wild card game, and they are one and done in the postseason again. I guess that's technically two and done because they'll win one game and then lose the next one. At some point, and I've been telling you, 2/3 of the National Football League, the people that are winning titles, Andy Reid, Sean McVay, those guys, Sirianni, Peterson, those are offensive coaches. So if Demeco can't get the offense right, then Cal and Hannah, you have an obligation to bring somebody in here. Should we get there? Let me see how it looks at the end of the year. But that's just me. And I love Demeco. I really do.
Demeco can't get the offense right. There was $20 million sunken into 3 players that are no longer here, and that money could have been.
See, you're not listening. You're not listening to.
It's not, but it's not on Demeco.
No, you're not listening. You're not listening. I am not saying that Demeco is more culpable. 2 things can be true. The GM didn't set him up for success, and Demeco chose some bums as coordinator. And I'm sure they're very nice men. I haven't met either one of them, Slowick and Kaylee. But those were Demeco's choices. So you must be held accountable for your choices. If you want to win a title in the modern NFL, it's been 11 seasons since a defensive-minded head coach won a Super Bowl. What is the goal here? Is the goal to win a Super Bowl or to just not be the laughingstock of the NFL? He's already accomplished they're no longer the laughingstock unless they play like that again, how they played at Seattle in front of the nation. But if the goal is to win a Super Bowl, you're telling me right now, with what's going on around here the last 2 years offensively, that you have confidence that Demeco Ryans can win this team a Super Bowl. I hope he can. I'm not telling you right now I believe that. I hope he can.
It's an ongoing conversation as we will continue to watch what they do this year. All right, we got a couple minutes left, guys. So Denver this weekend, a team that's lost its best defender coming in, that's playing great football. Can the Texans win this football game? And I guess what's your prediction for the weekend, John?
I think Houston can win this football game. In a lot of ways, I view Bo Nix in the same kind of class that I view Mac Jones, even when he's playing at his best. They're gonna have to prove to me Bo Nix can beat this defense. And I'm also going to mention this. I know we got a little bit. For Houston to continue to be successful offensively, the usage for Woody Marks has to be consistent. It ain't gonna always be run, it ain't gonna always be pass, but it needs to be a heavy dose of both. But yes, I think Houston can win this game in front of somewhat of a home field advantage.
There's gonna be a lot of Denver fans there.
It's gonna be a lot of Denver fans. There was a lot of Denver fans last year, or the year before when they came. But I'm going to ride with Houston on this one.
Stan?
The Denver Broncos lead the NFL in sacks.
Yeah, they do.
They also give up sacks from the offensive standpoint.
Yes, they do.
The Denver Broncos are a good football team, and they're also well coached. They're going to bring pressure that's going to be reminiscent of what we saw from the Rams, what we saw Jacksonville do. The formula is out there, and they have the bodies to do it. Zach Allen, Nick Bonito. Now, they're going to be without Patrick Surtain, the reigning defensive player of the year.
Major.
Pat Surtain II is out. He's on IR for a minimum of 4 weeks. So that's definitely huge. But let me be clear. This group that's coming Sunday is not that group they played this past Sunday. And until the Texans show me against somebody else's A team and not the JV, until they show me that they can go out there against somebody's varsity, I'm going to be skeptical. The offense looked better. That's 3 of the last 4 games that the offense has shown some proficiency. But I got to also qualify that with who were the defenders out there. These dudes in Denver have real dudes.
I do want to add to that in the games where when they played the better teams, who's their quarterback? Matthew Stafford, MVP candidate Baker Mayfield, MVP candidate Sam Darnold, and
Trevor
Lawrence. I don't think Trevor had a good day, but I think if we look at any advantage for Houston, it is their defense versus Bo Nix.
The problem is going to be, of course, what does the Texans offense look like?
It's going to be the question mark for the rest of the year.
And can they keep C.J. Stroud like they did this
Listen,
past weekend? Clean.
J.K. Dobbins, R.J. Harvey running the football on that Broncos offense, the athletic ability of Bo Nix, who can make some plays outside the pocket. He's in lockstep with Sean Payton. And then you look at guys that can make plays like a Courtland Sutton. They have everything they need to be successful. But it's going to be the matchup of two defenses. And then CJ. Can CJ go fill in the gaps? Can he raise everybody's level around him like he did on Sunday, getting some 8 or 9 different receivers in the ball game? And can Nick Caley have the courage of his conviction and stick to running the football? That's the highest volume. And I said I was going to look it up and I didn't. That's the highest volume they've had all year in running the ball. Will they stick with it regardless of how the game looks?
What we do know is that when the game ends Sunday, we will be right here for the Locked On Texans Squad show for the recap of it all. Make sure, of course, that you're checking out John with the Daily Locked On Texans podcast as well. Wade Smith will join us on Sunday. We appreciate you guys spending some time with us on this Tuesday edition of the Squad show. We'll talk again Sunday after hopefully a win on the Squad show.